Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through stacks of information to pull out the real nuggets of knowledge for you.
That's the plan.
Today, we're doing a special deep dive, looking at a digest of current affairs from June 25th, 2025. Our mission: get you up to speed quickly, thoroughly on key happenings in India and, well, around the globe.
Right. Aiming for those aha moments without drowning you in data.
Exactly.
It's really about understanding not just what happened, but the why. Why it matters, how it connects to the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a real mix today: economic shifts, diplomatic moves, some tech updates, even a bit of history to unpack.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's unpack this daily briefing. We'll kick off with some pretty significant developments from India.
Right.
Then we'll zoom out to the global stage, dive into economy and markets, and maybe wrap up with a quick tech blip. Sound good?
That sounds great. Let's start with India.
Okay, so our sources are really highlighting India's economic resilience. What's the latest from the RBI's, the Reserve Bank of India's June 2025 monthly bulletin that points to this?
Yeah, the RBI bulletin, it really showed a remarkable stability. Inflation, for instance, dropped to 2.82% in May.
Wow, 2.82.
Yeah, that's actually the lowest it's been in 6 years.
Okay,
And on top of that, they went ahead and implemented a 50 basis point rate cut.
0.5%?
0.5%, exactly. And they also lowered reserve ratios. So it's a clear signal. They intend to boost liquidity, boost growth.
And this reflects performance across the board.
Pretty much strong performance noted in industrial sectors, services, and agriculture too.
Okay, so what's the main takeaway here for someone just trying to gauge India's economic health? Strength, mostly.
It definitely suggests a robust economic environment, yeah. But the RBI is also maintaining caution. They're watching global oil prices, geopolitical tensions.
Always a fact.
Always. And of course, the monsoon. The timing of the monsoon is absolutely crucial. So strength, but with a watchful eye.
Right, makes sense. Okay, now something really interesting for, well, anyone who travels. Passport Seva 2.0.
Ah, yes, and the e-passports.
Exactly. The External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, launched both. What exactly are these new e-passports? What's different?
Well, they're a pretty significant leap forward, actually. They contain an embedded chip.
Okay, like in credit cards.
Sort of, yeah. This chip stores your biometric and demographic data. The key things are it makes them highly tamper-proof, much faster to scan at immigration checks, and they're globally accepted under ICAO guidelines.
ICAO, that's the international standard body.
That's the one, International Civil Aviation Organization.
Yeah.
So, yeah, global interoperability.
And Passport Seva 2.0, that sounds like more than just the passport itself. It's the whole application process getting an overhaul.
Indeed. It integrates AI-driven systems, chatbots, multilingual ones, apparently, facial recognition, digital tracking. It's all aimed at really improving the applicant experience, making it smoother, faster. Ties right into the Digital India initiative.
Streamlining the whole thing.
Exactly.
Okay, moving from tech and travel to a significant historical commemoration. June 25th was proclaimed Samvidhan Hatya Diwas.
Constitution Murder Day.
Right, marking the 50th anniversary of the emergency declared back in 1975. Can you give us some context on this declaration?
Sure. So this declaration, happening right on the 50th anniversary of that 1975 to 77 emergency period, it serves to, well, honor democratic values today. Home Minister Amit Shah's remarks specifically emphasize that the nation never bows to dictatorship. That's a direct reference to the 21-month suspension of civil liberties back then.
A very pointed remembrance.
Very. And it's really important for our listeners to understand we're reporting the factual content here, what the sources say about this declaration. We aren't endorsing any political viewpoint, just conveying the information as it was presented.
Absolutely. An important point. So what's the intention behind observing this day now? Education. Awareness.
Both, really. Educational institutions are actually being directed to observe the day. The goal seems to be spreading awareness about, well, democratic values, the importance of press freedom, constitutional morality, particularly for younger generations.
Keeping history's lessons alive.
That seems to be the aim, yes, making sure that period isn't forgotten.
Okay, shifting gears completely now, let's talk about the environment, specifically the monsoon, a crucial update for India. What's the latest?
Well, we've seen light showers marking the official onset of the southwest monsoon in Chandigarh and nearby regions.
So it's arrived there.
It has. And the IMD, the Indian Meteorological Department, their forecast is actually for an above-normal season right through September.
Above normal. That's generally good news, isn't it?
Generally, yes. They're also predicting periodic thunderstorms.
And why is this monsoon forecast always such a big deal for India?
It's absolutely paramount. Agriculture still employs a huge chunk of India's workforce, something like 40%.
Wow, still that high.
Yeah. So the monsoon's timely and adequate arrival, it directly impacts agricultural output, economic stability, food security, the whole chain.
Hmm.
An above normal forecast is welcome, but everyone watches the distribution of that rain very closely too.
Right, not just the total amount, but where and when it falls.
Precisely.
Okay, let's zoom out now to the global stage. There was news about a very fragile truce between Iran and Israel.
Yes, that's right. A ceasefire was brokered just the day before, June 24th,
Mm-hmm.
and reports indicate it's holding. Yeah, it's clearly fragile.
How so?
Well, Iran extended its airspace closure, for one, and Israel reported intercepting some suspected drone incursions, possibly from Iran or Iranian-backed groups. So tensions are still very high.
But the immediate impact on markets was interesting, wasn't it?
Absolutely. This fragile stability, even just the absence of immediate escalation, it helped ease oil prices. Brent crude dipped to around $65 a barrel.
65. Okay.
And it generally boosted global market sentiment. We saw global equities edge a bit higher on the back of that relative calm, however tentative.
Interesting how quickly markets react. Now, sticking with global interactions, but on a different note, India received some praise from the WHO.
Yes, in the World Health Organization's Global Tobacco Epidemic Report for 2025.
What did they highlight?
They specifically praised India for implementing best practice graphic health warnings on tobacco products. This was back in 2024. These warnings now cover 85% of the packaging.
85% is quite high coverage.
It is. They also noted amendments to India's anti-tobacco legislation, COTPA 2003, and efforts promoting tobacco-free campuses. So, positive recognition there.
So is the fight against tobacco considered, won in India, or still a major challenge despite this progress?
Oh, definitely still a major challenge.
Yeah.
While there's been significant progress in regulation and public health messaging, tobacco usage remains a huge public health issue. The source mentioned 1 in 10 Indian adults still consume tobacco in some form.
Still a long way to go then.
A long way to go, but the WHO praise indicates movement in the right direction.
Right. Okay, let's pivot to international defense. The NATO summit in The Hague, June 24-25. What were the key takeaways?
Defense and allied coordination were top of the agenda. A really big outcome was a pledge by leaders to boost military spending towards 5% of GDP.
5%. That's a significant jump for many members, isn't it?
It is indeed. They also focus heavily on strengthening cyber defense capabilities and managing those ongoing Middle East tensions we just discussed, while also, continuing efforts to contain Russia.
This focus on increased spending and cyber defense, it raises a question, doesn't it? How do these decisions impact broader global power dynamics, even for countries like India, which isn't a NATO member?
It absolutely does. This increased spending, the focus on cyber, it signals, a stronger, more unified NATO stance, responding to what they see as evolving global threats.
Right.
And while India isn't participating directly, it watches these developments very closely. These kinds of shifts, they inevitably ripple outwards. They affect strategic calculations, international relations, trade alignments, everything India is deeply involved in.
Changing landscape.
Definitely.
Okay, let's bring it back to the economy, specifically India's stock markets. Sources are reporting quite a boom.
Absolutely. India's benchmark index is up about 14% in just the last 6 months.
14%?
Yeah, and that kind of performance. It's triggered a wave of IPOs, initial public offerings.
Companies going public.
Exactly. We're talking about $1.75 billion worth just this week. That's the highest weekly figure in over a year. Big numbers.
That sounds like very good news, strong investor sentiment. But I feel like there's often a but with market booms.
You're right to sense that. While it definitely reflects strong sentiment, analysts are starting to sound warnings. They're talking about valuation risks.
Things getting overpriced.
Potentially, yes. And the possibility of market corrections. They're urging fiscal caution, basically saying, don't just chase momentum, look at the underlying fundamentals.
So enjoy the boom, but be careful.
That's the message. Careful navigation requires.
Okay. And finally, for something a bit lighter, maybe, a tech blip in the gaming world.
Yeah, a brief moment of panic for Call of Duty players.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Major titles, including Warzone and the upcoming Black Ops 6, they suffered a global server outage today.
Oh, okay. How long did that last?
It was roughly 30 minutes. disrupting gameplay for a lot of people worldwide.
30 minutes can feel like an eternity if you're mid-game.
Absolutely. But the good news is it was resolved pretty quickly with some patch updates rolled out.
So a brief hiccup in the digital infrastructure, quickly fixed.
Exactly. Back online fairly fast.
Wow, okay. That was a whirlwind. We covered a lot of ground in a short time.
We really did.
From India's economic moves in those new e-passports to the fragile ceasefire globally, NATO's spending boost, market booms and warnings, and even that quick gaming fix. We've tried to pull out the critical insights for you from today's affairs.
Yeah, hopefully giving you that snapshot, not just the headlines, but maybe a sense of the deeper context and, the implications.
Right.
It really shows just how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? How events, even seemingly small ones, can ripple outwards across economies, politics.
Even our digital lives.
Exactly. Getting this kind of overview, comprehensive but concise, it's just key to staying informed, I think.
So the big question for you listening, what does this all mean? As you go about your day, maybe think about how some of these developments, rapid fire as they are, might connect to the bigger stories you follow or perhaps even choices you make. Which of these nuggets stood out most? And what might you want to deep dive into next now that you've got these key insights? Something to think about.